Hey, hello, welcome back to another episode of Sunil Shiv, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, I'm high as a motherfucking on drugs right now. Well, not the drugs that you think of, but these past 10 days since the last video I have posted, it's been a difficult time, ladies and gentlemen. I've been infected with the goddamn flu, and it's been really hard to talk or even move a muscle, ladies and gentlemen. I've been infected with flu as well as I got wheezing problems too, so that's why I've not been able to grind on the YouTube scene, ladies and gentlemen. But it's been a learning curve for the last 10 days, and today I thought, you know what, let's teach our viewers something that is necessary and something is happening on the day-to-day things, ladies and gentlemen. So what are we going to be learning about in today's video, ladies and gentlemen? So as you might know, I have been doing a lot of videos regarding the streaming aspects on my computer, ladies and gentlemen, and there's a separate playlist on OBS setups. If you do want to check that out, ladies and gentlemen, please do check it out. I'll link the playlist at the end of this video, and as well as it'll appear on the top screen right now. So with that said, what is the streaming setup that I currently own right now? So let me show you that first, ladies and gentlemen. So welcome to the studio. This is my bedroom, and this is where I sleep, and this is where I also stream and record YouTube like this one, ladies and gentlemen. I do a lot of reaction videos you might have seen from the channel too, but this is where I usually record. So this is my desktop setup right over here, ladies and gentlemen. This is a 2019 iMac with the Intel processor in it. Yes, I do have a fan because it gets steamingly hot, because this is an older laptop and OBS kinds of puts this system to its heavy use, so that's why it's been there. I have a beautiful motorcycle right over here. This is the same motorcycle that I currently own right now, ladies and gentlemen. This is the same motorcycle. This is the 2016 Ducati Monster 796, but the color options on this are a little bit different because this is a special edition and one I have is an ordinary version. But enough of that said, this is my desktop setup right now. I do have a desk mat, Amazon Basic, my iPad, my pen, Apple Pen for designing all the thumbnails that you see on this video, and also I do have a Stream Deck right over here. This is called as a Stream Deck, ladies and gentlemen. Basically what Stream Deck does is nothing. It's very simple, ladies and gentlemen. What Stream Deck does, it adds a whole lot of buttons to the system, ladies and gentlemen. So this is like a button system which you can configure from the software that is available, that I'll show you right now, ladies and gentlemen. But this is the system that I use so that you can get a lot more with what you're streaming, ladies and gentlemen. But enough of that, let me show you what recording is all about in a system, ladies and gentlemen. So first and foremost, ladies and gentlemen, before going into the system settings, the first thing you need to know is what is the streaming and what apps do you need to go before streaming, ladies and gentlemen. So first and foremost, the basics of streaming, as well as if you're doing a YouTube recording, also you can do both, ladies and gentlemen. You can do streaming as well as YouTube recording, but for both, the software that you need that connects both your face cam that is inbuilt into your system, like this one, hi guys, and also the screen that you're streaming to your viewers. Everything is done via one app. Obviously there's a lot of other apps too, but the one that works best in any scenario and doesn't leave you stranded on the road is going to be OBS, ladies and gentlemen. Don't worry, the apps as well as everything that I tell you on this video is going to be linked down in the description, so you can go check it out for yourself, ladies and gentlemen. So OBS is the main streaming as well as recording software that entirety of the YouTube community use, whether it is a Nutty or any of the most streaming most high-end streaming channels use, even Ninja too, ladies and gentlemen. Ninja QC, PewDiePie, any of these people, even KSI too, ladies and gentlemen, uses this platform. So this is called as the OBS, ladies and gentlemen. So basics of OBS, I have already done a lot of video on the basics of OBS, ladies and gentlemen, but let's refresh you up on basics of the OBS, ladies and gentlemen. So screen time right now. So this is right now my screen, ladies and gentlemen. Obviously I do have my Stream Deck on this side, but I'll tell you more about the Stream Deck and its services a little while later. But first, let's learn about the OBS, ladies and gentlemen. So let me minimize this. So this is the OBS general setup, ladies and gentlemen. So what you need to do before setting up the OBS platform, ladies and gentlemen, don't worry about this border scale. This is one thing that I use to perfectly align the borders with my cameras as well as other things too, ladies and gentlemen. So with that said, let me show you what and all I have and what is the basic thing that you need to know before setting up your OBS system, ladies and gentlemen. So first and foremost, ladies and gentlemen, on the left hand corner right over here, let me go down. Yeah, so this is called as scenes, ladies and gentlemen. This is where you set up different kinds of scenarios as well as different kinds of sets, ladies and gentlemen. So if you're setting a lot of connections between one screen to another screen, or you adding an intro screen as well as an outro screen, this is where you need to go, ladies and gentlemen. This is where scenes are set up. So for example, on the first set that let me rename this first. So let me put it as set 2. You can rename it as you want, ladies and gentlemen. So set 2 is going to be my main screen, ladies and gentlemen. This has all my camera actions, my everything regarding that. But the set 2 is going to be only my full screen and my face only, nothing showing on the background like like the desktop or any of the audio that is patching through. I'm just going to be putting my mic input as well as my face cam, that is the inbuilt face cam on this. So let me transition back to scene 1. And in the scene 1, let me tell you the basics too, ladies and gentlemen. So with that said, next up on the system is going to be the sources file, ladies and gentlemen. This is where you're going to be setting all these things up: the camera movements, the background desktops, as well as your Elgato cam. If you do got a separate cam like I do, I didn't set it up still, and as well as a separate mic to input your audio, that all you're going to be setting on this set right over here, ladies and gentlemen. So sources. First up, the basic sources that you need to install, to add. Again, everything is free, ladies and gentlemen. You just hit the plus icon on the bottom and everything is going to be displayed right over here. And before going on, ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you this. Windows as well as Mac, both of these softwares are going to be different for each of them, ladies and gentlemen. So OBS on a Windows software is pretty easy. It's like this and you're you're good to go, ladies and gentlemen. But but OBS on a Mac, it's a little bit different. It's a little bit tedious and it's a little bit time consuming, and there are a lot of learning to do before going into. So that's why I have splitted this video into 3-part series. The first is going to be the general instructions of how you could set your OBS. Number 2 is going to be the knickknacks on the OBS setups, like the mics as well as the cameras and as well as the Steam Deck, what you should do and what not you should do. And number 3 is going to be the finale of what you can do before going head to head on the streaming side as well as recording side, ladies and gentlemen. Obviously, I'm a recorder first, so I don't do streaming. So this is my recording setup, ladies and gentlemen. If you do streaming, there's a lot of things that you can add. Again, play around with it, feels what you like, and then you can add a little bit more onto that, ladies and gentlemen. So the basic setups are going to be, first you need to start recording your desktop. So desktop first, next up is your face cam, next up is going to be a mic, next up is going to be a desktop audio. So the mic is what you are talking into, right? Your voice, right? The desktop is audio is going to be what the desktop is playing, like the Chrome browser, YouTube's, or whatever things that are playing in the background, that you need to go. So these are the four main setups that you need to do. So first and foremost, let's start off with that. So as you can see right over here, I already set up this. So this is going to be the desktop audio. This is going to be the cam that I'm using. This is the inbuilt from the direct internal camera that this system is recording off. This is a 1080p cam, and also I do have another cam that I need to set up, but I'll show you what that setup is going to be like on a separate video. That's a little bit in depth, so I'll show you that too, ladies and gentlemen. Display capture, obviously built-in Retina 28x1620 pixels, the screen that is shown right over here, and as well as the mic input. The mic input is also not yet set because I'm trying to figure out how to easily connect this mic. This is a DJI wireless mic. The previous mic that you might seen in the videos, that is a that is a combustion, and that on this table looks pretty much little bit nasty. So I don't want to do that. I wanted to create a wireless setup, and I'm still learning on how to do that wireless setup. So give me some time before the second video drops. Before that, I'll arrange everything too, ladies and gentlemen. Sorry about that. I think I got some dust in my eye. But anyway, that is the basic setup, ladies and gentlemen. So let's go depth into this and set up each and everything, ladies and gentlemen. So desktop audio, you don't need to set up much, ladies and gentlemen. It's already set to the Mac settings, but if you do want to change it, hit the settings right over here. Just go to the audio section and you can see all of these changes, what you want to do. Just, just don't confuse it with what you need to do, ladies and gentlemen. Keep it as default and as it. Record few, 3 or 4 videos, then you might get an understanding on which you should change, which you do not need to change, sampling rates as well as the audio output rates and everything like that, ladies and gentlemen. Elgato Cam, I just rename it because I'm obviously going to be using an Elgato product, but I'll explain the Elgato products next, ladies and gentlemen. But for now, on the Elgato product, you got the FaceTime built-in camera, which is the built-in camera obviously, or you can go with an OBS virtual camera, which I do not have, but the FaceTime inbuilt camera is going to be there. You can choose obviously the resolution. I'm going to put it at 720p, sample FPS values, or you can choose your values to 24 to 29. Obviously I'm doing 24 frames per second, and you can change the input format. I never did that, but I'm going to keep it as it. And here's the best part, ladies and gentlemen. If you do want to increase your brightness or you do want to add filters to this, just hit the right mouse button, and as you can see, there are a lot of things that you can do to make this happen, ladies and gentlemen. So if you do want to hit filters, then you can add a lot of things like the LUT features. If you do have LUTs for this, you can add LUTs, chroma keys, color correction, color keys, cropping, HDR mappings, imagement. So if you do have a green screen in the background, then you can use image mask and blend, and you can basically tone out the green screen, and basically you can have invisible walls behind you, not this room obviously. So you can do that. Move source is very important, ladies and gentlemen. Remember these keynotes movements, and this all happens using that move source. I'll tell you a little bit more detail when I'm setting up the Steam Deck, ladies and gentlemen. So that's one thing you need to know. Move swap, move values are the same thing as the move source. Move transition is simple, ladies and gentlemen. If you do add a transition like from set 1 to set 2, and if you want to add a transition like crossfade or cross dissolve, then you can use move transition to change between that, ladies and gentlemen, between the transition. So that's good. Render delay is going to be obviously if you're rendering a huge sums, and if you want to delay it so that your GPUs does not blow up, then you can use render delays. Or scaling and aspect ratio is simple, ladies and gentlemen. If you have a full frame camera and if you want to crop it, then you can use the scaling or aspect ratio, or if you can change the aspect values as much you like, ladies and gentlemen. Scroll feature, obviously the scroll. Sharpen, simple as that, ladies and gentlemen. If you hit sharpen, you can change the name or you can keep it as it. So you can increase the sharpness by about, I think, let's put it at 26 so it looks good, ladies and gentlemen, but you get the point, right? So with that said, let's go into the display capture. There's nothing much, ladies and gentlemen, in the display capture, but if you do have 2 displays and if you want to capture 2 displays, you can obviously do that. Go into the filters, ladies and gentlemen, or go into the properties too. Both are going to be showing the same, and if you have a second display, it's going to be displayed on the monitor, ladies and gentlemen. So you can choose that. Mic, obviously whatever mic is going to be input. As of right now, I have given it as built-in microphone, ladies and gentlemen. With that, next panel is going to be the audio mixer, ladies and gentlemen. This is where you need to be a little bit closer to fine-tune the audio and make the listening process as much as sweet and sexy as it sounds, ladies and gentlemen. So again, this is an entirely new video and an entirely different video that I need to teach you before going in depth onto it. But basics are, however amount of mic you input, all of the peak values as well as the decibel values will be displayed right over here, ladies and gentlemen. So we do got desktop audio. So if you have something playing on the background, it will display over here. Your mic values, you have your mic 1, mic 2, mic 3. As of right now, I didn't set up, but this is going to be, ladies and gentlemen. And you can obviously go into the filters and change it by adding an equalizer, compressor, limiter, whatever things you want to do, you can do it, ladies and gentlemen. So that's one thing. That's keep it last is, ladies and gentlemen. Next is going to be the scene transition. This is what I've been telling you about, ladies and gentlemen. So from set 1 to set 2, if you're going to that, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to add a transition, this is the bar where you can add a transition, and whenever you go from set 1 to set 2, you get your transition, ladies and gentlemen. And this pattern I mean, this last section is going to be the control section, ladies and gentlemen, for all your recordings, streaming services, virtual camera, studio modes, settings, as well as exit, ladies and gentlemen. This is all. This is the basics that you need to know about the OBS pattern, ladies and gentlemen. The scenes, sources, audio mixers, the scene transitions, as well as the controls, ladies and gentlemen. And what are all the pluses and deletes right below on each section, ladies and gentlemen. Pluses allows you to add new scenes on the scenes tab. Delete allows you to obviously delete a scene. This is the fading app. If you want to add filters for anything, you can do that also, ladies and gentlemen. And if you want to go from move on to move to, you can do that, ladies and gentlemen. These are the arrow keys to move between different scenes and different sources. This plus on here allows you to add other sources too, ladies and gentlemen, like audio input, browser, capture card devices, color source. If you do have a color source, you can add it. If you do want to add an image behind it, you can add an image, ladies and gentlemen. Image slideshow, that allows you to add intros and etc. And basically audio capture I have already installed, and screen capture is also there. Media source, if you do want to play background tunes from Spotify, you can add this media source, and you can control the play plus and the next features using that Steam Deck, ladies and gentlemen. And with that, scene, siphon client, there's so much stuff that you need to learn, ladies and gentlemen. But on the basics of recording, these are the basics that you need to know, ladies and gentlemen. So with that said, what is a goddamn Stream Deck, and what are Elgato products that you need to have to build a streaming empire, ladies and gentlemen? Obviously, if you're starting out right now, you don't need to invest in all of these to become a popular streamer, ladies and gentlemen. Start with what you have. That is what I always told you, ladies and gentlemen. Start with what you have and then build up when you go, ladies and gentlemen. So again, I started off with a simple basic OBS panel and my inbuilt cam and a cheap ass mic, maybe like an, the mic that comes in your earphones, like the Apple ones or the normal ones, that you can use it and go learn a little bit and then go movement again, ladies and gentlemen. So what is a Steam Deck, ladies and gentlemen? Obviously, all of these sources can be controlled by using hotkeys on your keyboard, ladies and gentlemen, like this one. So let me show you. Let me switch the cam right now. So ladies and gentlemen, let me show you this. So this is the keyboard, and you can assign a lot of shortcut to move between different sources on the panel, ladies and gentlemen. But here's the worst part about that, ladies and gentlemen. Combinations, keys is difficult to remember. So that's where this comes in, ladies and gentlemen. This is basically a hot swappable key switch panels with, let me keep this wide over here so that you can see it, ladies and gentlemen. So this is basically a keypad type structure. Just keep it as that, ladies and gentlemen. I'm trying to find out a good system where I can keep it. Yeah, so let me switch to this. This is in my profile setting right now, ladies and gentlemen. So let me switch that so that you can see a little bit cleaner and little bit smoother on what this panel looks without any of these things installed, ladies and gentlemen. Where's the Steam Deck? So let me go into a default profile, and this is what you have, ladies and gentlemen. Or let me go into the profile. So this is nothing. This was just simple buttons. Here the clicking, ladies and gentlemen. Just give me 1 second. Let me put the mic. See, these are all hot swappable keys, ladies and gentlemen, that you can assign different functions to either make a camera movement or even a scene movement, a transition movement, or whatever movement you want to do, you can do it, ladies and gentlemen. And that's how a Steam Deck works. So let me show you my profile on what it has. So let me switch it to Sunil's profile, and at the top, ladies and gentlemen, you can see it has this is the OBS button, which allows me to open the OBS app for sure. And this is a link which I didn't configure still. So this is a button that allows you to open a web page or a web browser. So as of right now, I think so I have put it on, I'm not sure, but I think so I have put it on YouTube so that I can easily open it. And this is for the background music. This allows me to sync up Harris Heller's tunes from Spotify onto this, so that for all the parts the music keeps playing on the background. So this camera 1, camera 2, camera 3, camera 4 is going to be the movements that you see on here, ladies and gentlemen. So these are all the movements that is available, and these I'll tell you a little bit more on how I set it. It's literally a magic, ladies and gentlemen. I'll tell you more about that. So this allows me to change between the scene set 1 and set 2. I have not yet configured still, and this one allows the, when I'm not using the system, I'm editing right now, so I press this button and everything goes to sleep, so it doesn't disturb me, ladies and gentlemen. So that's the sleep button. And the end one, obviously, if I do have an end card, I'll add it right over here. I didn't do anything as of right now, so leave it as it, ladies and gentlemen. This also I have not yet configured, so that's why it's showing like this, ladies and gentlemen. Caution, that means I have not yet signed anything. And here's the best part about having a Steam Deck, ladies and gentlemen. You can have a Steam Deck and you can add a lot of pages to it, ladies and gentlemen. So as you can see right now, let me show you. So this is page 1. I have not yet set anything on page 2, ladies and gentlemen, but this allows you to take into page 2. And here are another 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 12 13 14 buttons that you can configure, ladies and gentlemen. 14 buttons that you can configure, and you can keep adding pages 1 2 3 4 whatever like that, ladies and gentlemen. And this is what helps you to add about this, ladies and gentlemen. As you can see page 1, page 2, and you can add pluses, and you can add so many things so many things you can add it later, ladies and gentlemen. So when I'm doing a separate video on the button configuration as well as the camera and the audio configuration, I'll tell you more about the the Steam Deck features and how everything is being attached to this, ladies and gentlemen. So with that said, let me switch you off. Just give me 1 second. With that said, ladies and gentlemen, hope this was a beautiful video, ladies and gentlemen. Hope you learned a little bit about how streaming as well as video recording works. With that said, that's all for today's video, ladies and gentlemen. If you do want to learn a little bit more about that, I have already done a video on the past. I'll leave that playlist right at the end of this video. It will be on the end screen and it will appear on the top screen. Links are also down in the description below, ladies and gentlemen. But I'm really sorry that I have not been uploading to YouTube for the past 15 days. The reason is simple, ladies and gentlemen. I've been sick and I've been learning too, ladies and gentlemen. So please forgive me for that. But the videos are going to be coming up sooner than you think, ladies and gentlemen. So next video, I don't know when I'm going to be uploading. I'm going to be uploading this video soon. I don't know when I'm going to be uploading the next video. Stay tuned for that, ladies and gentlemen. And if you're not yet subscribed to the channel, hit that subscribe button down below. Turn on that bell notification and also hit that like button, ladies and gentlemen, so that this video gets viewed by many other people and many other people get to learn what it is behind the scenes of what a streamer and a reaction videoer looks like, ladies and gentlemen. With that said, I'll catch you guys on the next one.